All right, good afternoon, everyone. Today, I just want to take a couple of minutes here and talk about the Battle of Bunker Hill. This is also known as the Battle of Breed's Hill because Breed's Hill is where most of the fighting took place. So, we're going to talk just for a few minutes, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this. This is just something that I want to experiment with a little bit. We'll see how it works. So, we'll talk a little bit about this very important part of the American Revolution. It's known as the Battle of Bunker Hill, even though most of the fighting took place on a nearby hill known as Breed's Hill. All right, a little bit of background. We learned about the battles of Lexington and Concord and their significance. We talked about the shot heard around the world. We talked about how the colonists had a big victory over the British at the North Bridge at Concord. So, in the time period between, just a little bit of background, there was a group called the Green Mountain Boys. This was led by a man by the name of Ethan Allen, and the colonists had a huge victory under his leadership at Fort Ticonderoga. This is he got the help to win this fort by someone by the name of Benedict Arnold. Now, you're probably familiar with Benedict Arnold being a traitor to America in the Revolution. This was before that time, so just keep that in mind. I just want to kind of bridge the gap here a little bit. Ticonderoga was a key location for the War for Independence. So there's a picture of the uniform of the Green Mountain Boys, as they were so called. Now, when it comes to the Battle of Bunker Hill, there's one name that is synonymous with that battle, and it's someone by the name of William Prescott. And there you can see a statue of him, and he is the one that's most famous for this battle. He's a colonial leader, and he is the one that's in command at this battle. And just a little bit about how things got started. You had British troops were in control of the city of Boston. Okay, we talked about how Boston was just a key place where kind of everything was going on. So British troops are still in control, even though more and more colonists were joining the army in the surrounding areas. And Colonel Prescott learned that the British had plans on occupying the hills outside of the city as well as Boston itself. So he finds out about this. He responds by sending 1,200 troops to occupy Bunker Hill and Breed's Hill. So, very important figure. Now, when we talk about the battle itself, like I said, it took place mostly on Breed's Hill, even though the battle is referred to as the Battle of Bunker Hill. And it can be divided into three different advances by the British. The colonists were ready for them, and they really held them down for the majority of the time. The British were under heavy gunfire from the colonists who had the tactical high ground. By the third advance, however, their ammo's running low, and at this point, they're pretty much fighting with bayonets. And once they get to that point, Colonel Prescott, even though his men had fought valiantly and courageously, they were forced to surrender the hill. So it ends up being a victory for the British, but it's kind of a moral victory for the colonists. So we'll talk about really kind of the legacy or the significance of this battle when it comes to the big picture of the war. So this battle makes Colonel Prescott famous. This is what he's known for. So even though they lose the hill, it's really just because the British have them outnumbered. The British took heavy losses, and the colonists really stood their ground. So by the third time, he realized that they were running low on ammo and they had to surrender. This is where and I know this picture, it may have took you by surprise, but Colonel Prescott is famous for a quote of, "Do not fire until you see the whites of their eye." He realizes throughout this battle that ammo is running very, very low. By the third advance, this is when he makes this quote. He knows that every shot should count. So he says, "Do not fire until you see the whites of their eye." That's kind of what he's famous for. In other words, hold your fire until you absolutely need to shoot. Now, this battle was significant because the British nearly lost. We talked about how they have the advantage from the get-go. They're the #1 military in the world. The colonists are just a bunch of ragtag rebels, farmers, blacksmiths, just regular everyday people. They have no business even being in the same league militarily with the British, but they have a lot of grit, they have a lot of heart, and they will fight to the very end. They know the British know after this battle that it's not going to be easy. They're gonna have their hands full with the colonists. So, like I said, even though it was a loss, it's considered, I guess, a moral victory because of the message it sent to the British. And if you look at this picture, you can see that several of the colonists are just swinging their muskets. It's hand-to-hand combat because they were running low on ammo. So they're fighting to the bitter end. So that's why this battle is significant. I thank you for watching this video. We will on Monday in class we will have an activity to go along with this. So if you've watched this video, you will definitely benefit when it comes to our classroom activity. So again, I thank you for watching this. Hopefully this is something we can do again in the future. And I hope you have a great weekend. All right, have a good one.